for the video. What's going on? I'm waiting for the video. 1 second. Hello, and this is Jonathan, your host for Questions of Fire podcast today. I'm absolutely delighted to have my next guest. I suppose I would see myself as a high achiever for all of the things I've tried to do, lived in multiple countries, working for big companies, and this lady is putting forth a lot of great content. We'll get into her in a minute. I'd just first like to introduce her and thank her. Aleksandra Marjańska, thank you for taking the time out today to talk to us and tell us about high achievers.
My big pleasure. And I must say, I was so smiling big when you started the intro, because this is actually the very first time I heard it. I saw my good friend Donna Marino there coming up as one of your first guests, and the music itself was like very much like Game of Thrones style, with the flames and kind of the song of ice and fire. I absolutely loved it. It put me in the mood.
Fantastic, fantastic. We start off in a great way. Well, high achievers is a big energy thing anyway, Aleksandra. You know, I would tend to be, I would see myself in that category, and it brings you through a lot of different things in life, wanting to do your best, or maybe the best, or there's many questions. And before we get into the details, and you're talking about high achievers 2.0, what do you mean by high achievers, Aleksandra?
Brilliant question. And actually, I would even narrow it down to achiever itself. I'm using the term high achievers as well, because this is what people usually use and relate to. But for me, the key here is not in high, but in achiever. So achiever to me is really a personality type. And I define my achievers not based on the level of actual achievement in life, which is very much based on, you know, what the society values and expects, and what makes impression on others, depending on where you live in your social environment, cultural environment. But to me, the achiever type is someone highly driven from within, visionary, constantly searching for new possibilities to grow, to explore, to create more, to learn more, to achieve more. And we are not, as achievers, obviously I'm this kind of person myself. This is why I feel that these people are my people on the planet. So for us, life is not about achieving a certain level, a certain standard, a certain wealth, or whatever it is, a certain career point, and then the rest of our lives would be about maintaining it. So it's not about reaching stability and maintaining stability. Stability to us would be like stagnation, and achiever types cannot stand stagnation. We need to grow, we need to explore, we need to expand all the time. So this itself is a superpower, and it's innate. It's not something, I believe that it's just a part of our nature, like our essential being for this kind of person. And then high achiever would be indicating the level of achievement, which, as I say, is mostly based on our cultural norms and codes and what's average, and then everything above average would be high achieving, and then everything under would be low achieving. We also operate with terms like overachieving, which maybe could be closer. And recently I've just started exploring also this term hyperachieving, and I think actually that for me and what I do, hyper achiever is more accurate than high achiever, because hyper achieving is about overdoing. It's about going to the extreme with the action of achieving the behavior itself. And
Mm-hmm.
this is what
Mm-hmm.
causes, what turns a natural achiever, which is a healthy, great way of living, into high achievers syndrome, as Dr. Donna Marino calls it. So when this driving force, unmanaged, not understood, out of control, becomes our own enemy and our huge disadvantage.
Okay, okay. So when we think about achievers, part of it is, do we think, okay, well, they grew up in a certain family or they went to a certain school? Were the environments that they grew up in conducive to achieving for either the sake of their parents or their environment, or actually some of them go through the battle, is it for themselves or are they doing it for others' expectations socially? So probably my question there, Aleksandra, what do you think are some of the key influences that create that achievement mentality?
Yeah. So as I said, I do differentiate between a healthy achiever and an achiever suffering from this syndrome. So a healthy achiever
Okay.
achieves, like, all these achievements, these great things that they are doing, whatever it is just a natural result of who they are, is just a consequence of them just being themselves in this world, basically. But then if this high achieving becomes related to pressure, stress, this feeling of constantly having to living up to higher standards and higher standards, higher standards, then we have a problem. This is what is the essence of the syndrome. And I believe that what creates the syndrome and this pressure and this unhealthy extreme for an achiever is very often their upbringing. So this is connected, like the core of high achiever syndrome is the attachment of achievement to self-worth, meaning that all these attempts to achieve more and more constantly are really very often on the unconscious level an attempt to compensate for some kind of lack, some kind of pain. And very often, this lack and pain is related to lack of love, lack of acceptance, lack of the
Yeah.
validation from the outside world, very often starting with your very own parents or the closest relatives, closest relationships in your life. So
And then
it's
what
kind of
about
this
the
attitude
opposite
of,
side
yeah.
of it? Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
No,
Go
it
ahead.
that it's related to, like, constantly thinking that you need to achieve to kind of deserve your place on earth, to deserve the attention, to deserve
Yeah.
love.
Yeah.
Mm.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So on the other side of that, Alessandra, you said achievement is sort of a natural thing, and some people go beyond that to high and hyper achievement. But some people don't go to achievement. They get blocked along the way. I don't know whether is it they have failures or the environments don't help the natural part of them, the natural achieving part of them, come into that sweet spot. So what is it that sort of stops the natural achievement of many people from reaching also that sweet spot of achieving?
Mm-hmm.
So like
So
you know
I
how
would
when we fail,
say,
there are some, yeah, you go ahead.
that not everyone is a natural achiever. I would in fact say that a very tiny percentage of human population are natural achievers. It's just a question of what personal individual needs are the dominating ones and the driving ones. And people, and this is also the problem
Mm-hmm.
that natural achievers are facing, because they are in the minority of human population. Most of the self-development advice, books out there, research, are dedicated naturally to the majority of people. And the majority of people, because of the way we are brought up, the messages from the culture, people older than us that have gone through failures and become more bitter and disappointed, time and time again. The message very often is like, okay, we hear dream big, but maybe not too big. Most people don't like getting out of their comfort zone. There is this natural mechanism in our brain that wants to keep us safe, wants to keep us content, wants to continue what we've been doing. Most people need this message of, get out of your comfort zone, because everything you desire is on the outside of it, and get out of your couch, watch less Netflix, when, if not now, then never. These are the dominating pieces of advice, simply because most people out there need this kind of advice. But if you take a natural achiever who has this drive, who lives most of their everyday life outside of the comfort zone, because this is what exponential growth and extraordinary goals demand of them, and they know it, and they do it, then they don't have trouble with switching off Netflix and doing something with their lives. They don't have the trouble with courage as much as many others, but they have a trouble with overstimulation and not allowing themselves to take a break from this achieving and actually watch some Netflix just for the sake of fun. So we are talking about two different groups there, and each of these groups need a different kind of message, which is why I'm also very selective with who I invite into Goal Achievers Club, which is my global community of natural achievers, so that I make sure that my message reaches the right type of people. And it's really important, guys, everyone listening, watching, to understand how important it is to follow the advice that is right for your type. But back to your question, Jonathan. So with most of people, yes, fear of failure, fear of success in terms of, success comes with more responsibilities. That's one. So you can be fearful around a new higher level of commitment and responsibilities that comes from bigger success. Another thing, fear, and this is also the fear that that achievers can have and experience, because extraordinary success, higher and higher levels of success, makes you also more and more kind of different, standing out from the crowd. So you need to dare to be different, and you need to stand, tolerate, deal with that some people might be triggered by it. That would be a typical thing in Norway as well, where we have something called in Norwegian janteloven, which means basically everyone should be the same. No one should be different from the crowd. So you will hear that you are trying to be way too different than others in this society.
So a quick question on that, and it's relating back to something you said a couple of minutes ago. What gives somebody the self-worth, or how does somebody build up the self-worth to overcome challenges, face failures, get back up again and keep going? Well, what are the key influences there, Aleksandra, in someone having that internal strength to be a high achiever or an achiever,
I would say that this, obviously, it comes back to the concept of taking care of your inner child. It comes back to spiritual practice, I would even say, because it's all about this reconnection with yourself, understanding the difference between being and doing, and really connecting to your being and understanding that the being, like the essence of us, what I call like your soul, your core, who you really are in this world. So we are on the level of identity, and even beyond, like who are we as these living creatures here. You can understand when you're really connected with yourself that you are complete, that you don't need to do something in order to find or deserve self-worth. It's there. And a great friend of mine and a brilliant coach as well, Marta Czajkowska, she has just shared in my community a short video that she has done on hyperachievers. And what it really is about, which is just another name for a high achiever syndrome, really. And she gave a great tip that I want to share with you as well, because I think it's really brilliant. She said, find a picture of yourself from your childhood. Look at this picture like as young as possible, even as a baby. Look at you as a baby and notice that this baby is deserving of love, is deserving of being here. It has this enormous potential. It is perfect and complete just as it is, and held with the full right to take its space here on earth. And this baby hasn't yet done anything. It's just
Sure,
there.
sure,
Our
sure.
self-worth is there.
Well, I agree with you, Alexandra, but I also grew up in what I would call a very working class, normal family. And when resources are tight, people have less energy towards, they have energy towards very materialistic things, putting, food on the table, paying the bills, doing the, so they probably don't often take or make a priority to actually, how we say, cultivate their spirit or their inner child or whatever it is. So part of that, in my, at least, it was, I got older before I learned a lot of those aspects, is
Mm.
having the right environment, the right, I don't know, social economics is a part of it, but it's not the only part of it. Having the environment where, your feelings, your thoughts are appreciated and not suppressed because things are more urgent, is a critical element of that. And I'm not just talking about your family, that also talks about in school. You may like something, but may not be an A student. You may only be a C student, but you love it. And so all of those characteristics, I suppose in culture, we grade things, unfortunately, and we grade them either by money in society or by
Yeah.
grades in school. How do we manage to shift, or how could we manage to shift culture so that someone's preferences or feelings towards, or desires towards something are the most important factor, or have a heavier weighting, we say, than the academic number they have or the amount of money they have in the bank? I'm looking at the structured versus the non-structured assessment of what achievement is. Or maybe you could give me a
Yeah.
couple of examples. That would be great.
I have had a couple of thoughts on this topic even recently, like how financial insecurity, pressure, like obviously in our society at this point, like you need to make money in order to survive, basically. And there is this belief out there that some activities will give you money and some activities won't give you money. So some passions can be monetized and some passions, callings, missions in life cannot be monetized. And great many people are kind of giving up on what their true desire is, what their true calling is, mission, the way they would love to contribute and make impact. Um, they sacrifice this because they believe that this won't secure them this income, at least on a basic level that they would need to survive. So they feel like they need to choose something else and either do the thing that they truly love as a hobby on a side, or wait with it until they retire, or wait with it until they have accumulated so much wealth that it will secure them the financial freedom, so called, for the rest of their lives, so that they then they can serve their mission. So I think that the more of us can prove to the rest of the world that it is in fact possible to make money on your passion and not only survive but thrive also financially doing what you truly love, the more openness it will be to this kind of scenario, the more will we open our eyes to this possibility. And it doesn't mean that you can make money on watching Netflix, even though I get an idea is probably in a way you can do. Maybe not all the people on the planet would make money on that, but some people. I even know a story of this brilliant lady who happened to love all these soap operas in Poland. So she was watching all of them, and she was also a Polish teacher and great at writing. So suddenly she got this dream job as a journalist, writing these short descriptions of what happens in each episode, and she started working for one of the biggest
Yeah.
magazines all about these soap operas. So even something like this, you have people who love gaming, right? and suddenly they start being the best reviewers, critics for the game, different computer games that are coming out there. So as long as you are creative and as long as you have this belief that there is a way, I believe that you will find the way as well. And you will find a way to monetize on what you truly love, or what you feel is your calling, your passion, your mission in this world. But it's
So what
about,
I'd love. Oh yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
yeah, it's about just um, being so determined around finding this way and not giving up and not going for plan B or C.
Okay, excellent. I think we all want that to be true. I think some people find difficulty because it requires a lot of persistence, a lot of dedication, and just a belief in that you will find the way. Your club, then, high achievers, the club that you have. What's your vision for the club? If someone wants to join it, where to bring the person that joins it? What journey are you asking them to go down the road of, Aleksandra?
Yeah, so I have one community that is free, and that's the club. That's Goal Achievers Club. And then I have another group called High Achiever 2.0, which is a paid program where I'm guiding people through this transformation. But obviously, I'm giving to the members of the club also loads of free resources that can point them in the same direction, because my mission is all about this transformation. So first of all, the club would be, as I said, for someone that recognizes this innate, very strong drive. So this inner motivation. They know that they have this feeling that they are here to accomplish great things. They notice that they are setting extraordinary standards for themselves, higher than most, that they want more than most, that they're kind of more hungry for life than most, new experiences, like very driven by the new, by the challenge. So they are not afraid of change. They would, in fact, proactively seek change, seek challenges, seek because they see it as an opportunity of growth. And they might be multi-passionate, or at least very passionate about some particular thing, maybe that is their thing. They are very often creative, very often highly intellectual and visionary, innovative, thinking out of the box very often. So, and they might, I'm not saying that everyone is suffering from the syndrome, high achiever syndrome, but great many of these people are, without even knowing, without even being aware of that it's a thing, this high achiever
Yeah.
syndrome. And how can you know that you're experiencing it? It would be things like constant time pressure, constant feeling of urgency, and that you have so much to accomplish in life and life is too short, which is why you need to do it all, preferably in one day, and being exhausted by this overload. So your to-do list is never ending, and you feel like you need to just rush through it in order to be able to accomplish everything in this lifetime. And you don't want to allow yourself to slow down. You don't want to allow yourself to take a break, because it seems to you in the moment like the very last thing you want to do, because there is so much on your plate. It creates a lot of stress, obviously. It creates anxiety as well, especially if you have had an experience of morning anxiety, when you at some point start another day of your life and you have this feeling that, oh my gosh, at this point I really don't feel like this superhero. I feel like I need a break. Sometimes even I feel like I want to hide from the world, because today I am not able to be the superhero that the world is used to see in me. So, oh gosh, another day of achieving, kind of
Yeah.
thing, as if another day of just being wouldn't enough for you. So you don't want to give yourself this permission. And you will have things like imposter syndrome, perfectionism, this feeling of being tired on the way to your goals, like that your goals, your dreams are at this point exhausting you. That would be typical as well for achievers suffering from the syndrome.
So I can say for myself, Alexandra, is, I'm 20 odd years pushing it at a high level. I've definitely cracked on a number of occasions just from pure exhaustion. I would have,
Yeah.
say, had a couple of, we'll say, quasi burnout, whatever else, where you had to take a few days, or that is not usual. Still married or whatever else, but I see people who, the extreme end of it, end up putting everything at the cost of their achievement. Might divorcing, separating, and some of them even compensate then by drinking or doing other things. High achieve at the level achieving have extreme costs because prepared to pay almost any for those types of things. How does that get remedied in the sense that they realize that they're not actually working with integrity? How do they on that back to integrity? Because you'll have people who want to go first, and then you have people who want far. How do you someone who's maybe gone a little bit too far, Alexandra?
Yeah. So it is a great question, and I want to also say that great many when high achievers bring themselves to this point of exhaustion, and really sometimes questioning, is this the only way? Or maybe you still have this approach of, no matter what, through blood, sweat, and tears, I will get there. Let it cost what it costs. I don't care. I will kind of push myself so hard that I will get there finally. And their environment is seeing it. But if others are not these visionary achievers themselves, the advice from the concerned friends, even, it might not be because someone is not wishing you success or wishing you something bad. It might be really heartfelt, loving advice, but the advice would often be, chill out a little bit. Like, do you really need to do it all? Do you really need to reach that high? Like, look what it's doing to you.
Mm-hmm.
Slow down. Like, and so the message would be, settle for less, basically. Lower your expectations to yourself. And I want you guys, all of you who are listening and recognizing this achiever in you, I want you to understand that this is like out of alignment with you. Settling for less and reaching lower is out of alignment. You wouldn't be happy and satisfied and fulfilled by it. You will be miserable, just on a different level. Instead of physical exhaustion or mental exhaustion, you will go through spiritual burnout, because you are not doing you then anymore in your life. So my advice, first of all, wouldn't be settle for less and do less and have smaller goals, because they need to be big but maybe not that big. No, have your big, crazy, impossible, extraordinary goals, dreams, visions, but it's about the process of achievement in itself, your approach to achieving rather than to your achievements. And here I would say, first of all, super important to create a sustainable level of your high performance, because visionary achievers very often have these goals, dreams, ambitions that it will take time to accomplish. It's
Mm-hmm.
not a sprint, it's like an ultra marathon. So, and in sports, you would exercise and approach a sprint very differently to an ultra marathon. So, the point is that with these visionary goals and dreams, you cannot even really know when you are starting this journey how long it will take you, because there are so many question marks here. There are so many factors you don't yet even know about. So how would you be able to set a deadline that is realistic? Like, these extraordinary visionary goals are not smart goals. Smart goals are action steps, milestones towards these extraordinary visions. But the point is, you need to be prepared to run for as long as it takes. And in order to be able to be unstoppable on this journey and get where you want to get, you need to find your sustainable pace. And you need to be able to adjust this pace as you face different challenges,
Mm-hmm.
different new actions that need to be taken. So this is the first pillar that I'm putting in place with my clients or followers, my tribe. And then the second thing that is also equally important that will fuel you on this journey is making sure that these goals, these visions, these ambitions that you have are really, as I say, soul-centered. So back to this idea of self-worth, your identity, your connection with who you truly are. So we are not seeking approval, validation, love from others. We are doing it out of our own self-love, a love for our life, and full acceptance to who we are. So it's really important that these goals, these visions are aligned with ourselves first. And then the third thing that I also recommend is, yes, it will demand a lot of you. It's not all dance on roses, but you can enjoy it. So I say I help people to achieve with this sense of flow and ease and fun and joy, because this is how
Yeah.
I believe that this experience of achievement should be, not this blood, sweat, and tears, exhausting myself no matter what, no pain, no gain kind of thing. But there is a difference between being at ease and having an easy journey, because you can be at ease with a challenge. You can be at ease with the obstacle. You can enjoy the adversity because you know that it makes you grow, it makes you develop some new skills, it forces you to be creative, find a way around. So you can be in flow, you can be at ease with even the most challenging journey. But in order to also make it a little bit easier for yourself, you need support. You shouldn't, with these huge, extraordinary goals, you shouldn't expect of yourself to do it all alone. So this is this third pillar that I call strategic support system.
Yeah. You bring up two, Alessandra. I like your framework for bringing people there, and one of the ideas is for big teams. The bigger the dream, the bigger the team. That's a phrase I think from Robin Sharma, which I really like. And the
Brilliant.
other,
I will note it down.
and another one is what we focus on. I think for years, personally, I had a problem, and I looked into it. Is I was always looking, even when I got the goal, at the next. Now, when I look at achievement, I say, well, what did I do today? What did I do in the last week? What did I do in the last 90 days? I do what, a friend of mine, Brian Grasso, calls count your wins. And I look backward at my achievements, not that my future, because what you focus on grows. And if what you've already done grows, it feels better than looking at the gain instead of the gap. I think that's by the coach Dan Sullivan. And I had the bad habit of, oh, I'm still so far away from, rather than,
Exactly. Yeah. This is
you
why
know.
also another reason why I don't resonate actually personally that much with the high achiever term. I'm playing with it because I know that people relate to it. But personally, I have a little bit of trouble with high achiever, because high achievers, so-called high achievers, they very often question if they really are high achievers. I even have clients who are coming to me, but they are saying, but I'm not sure if I'm a high enough of achiever to work with you. Because, and the reason is that high achievers very often are looking at this next level, this next goals, looking to the stars and beyond. There is no limit to how much we would love to accomplish. So we are very future oriented, very goal oriented. So to use this metaphor of a bird flying, if you
Yeah.
constantly focus on this even higher level and how even higher you would like to fly, you are not noticing, when you are not looking down on earth, you are not noticing how high you are flying already. So you are not aware of that you actually are a high achiever. People can perceive you as high achiever, and you will have this reaction, oh, no, you've seen nothing of me yet. I still have that much to do, right? I'm not nearly there yet where I want to be. And the same with to-do lists. To put it, on a kind of everyday in an everyday life frame, this would be, uh, ambition, long lists, no realistic chance of ticking off all the boxes in one day. And the focus of this person would be exactly what you shared, all the boxes that are not yet ticked, instead of all
Sure.
the boxes that you have ticked already. Same on the scale of your life. Instead of thinking, I've accomplished so much in my life so far already, it would be, oh, but I still want to do that, and I'm behind of myself. If I compare myself to my ideal timeline of my life that I would love to have. So it's still like I'm not moving forward fast enough, kind of
Sure.
stress
Sure.
that we as achievers with the syndrome are experiencing. And like one daily tip that I can give here, move
Yep.
your focus from your to-do list to your tada list, or done list, as some might call it. So the point is, at the end of the day, really make a list of all the things that you have accomplished, and you will be surprised how much it is. Or maybe you won't feel
Yeah.
that it's like, I caught myself on thinking, yeah, but it's still not that much. But then I was sharing this list with some accountability partners or some
Mm.
mentors or some other people, and they were amazed because they have a different reference frame. And the reaction, I was like, okay, I've just done this. And they were like, are you crazy? You've done so much. Your level of productivity is extraordinary. And I was like, really? So it kind of puts us in a more healthy perspective,
Yeah.
because our own reference frame, the inner one, is totally out of balance. Like, we are very often expecting of ourselves that we somehow should be these superhumans, these superheroes. We are not taking into consideration our human limitations. We don't often want to accept that we have some.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I have something similar, Alexandra, and that when it comes to a day, I have a list of two or three things, and I only need to get the. But the thing is, by getting those two or three done, the momentum to do more, they're not on the list, but the momentum of actually doing things build. Whereas I could probably write 20 or 25 from my head, but if I say, if I get these three things done, now quite often I'll do three more, five more, 10 more, but under asking from ourselves, we actually love to over deliver. I'll give you a little example is, I've loads of kids and you're involved in teaching a lot this year with them. And for example, if they've done 25 math sums, I say, well done, you've done over 20. And in their head, they know they've a bonus five. They've over delivered. And it just that giving the person that, and we can do it to ourselves as much as to our kids, giving ourselves that positive extra. Never say, oh, you did 25, because there's nothing extra that they have. Fantastic for doing over 20. And they inside them can feel that extra five. Oh yeah, I've even done more. And they'll do the addition in their head. And I think we need to learn somehow these simple, they're almost mind tricks, but that we focus on what we get achieved rather than, as you say, I really like your idea, the to-do list of what you've done. And that builds a positive momentum, I believe.
Absolutely. And another thing which actually helps to deal with this anxiety of, oh my gosh, another day of achieving, oh my gosh, so much I have on my schedule. So we kind of sense already that even if we do it, it will be exhausting. Some people might even know, like consciously or unconsciously, like it's impossible for a human being to do this. And I'm all about impossible things, but in slightly different understanding. But like physically, there is not enough minutes and hours in a day. Why would you expect
Sure.
of yourself to do that much and set yourself up for disappointment and so-called failure, and beat yourself up on top of that, of not living up to the expectation that was just insane from the very beginning? So making your to-do list as short as possible and really focusing on these crucial, very, very few things that you know will move the needle the most for you is so great. And as you said, it creates this momentum, it creates this energy, it creates this sense of accomplishment, which gives us this boost. It's like, I'm rocking this day already. And then you want to take more action usually, and you always have ideas as achievers of what more you could do. So that's not an issue. But it's then what I call inspired action rather than the forced action. Because it's this,
Mhm.
I really want to do more. And whoa, I still have some time and energy and space to do more, rather than, oh my gosh, I have still so much to do and I have to do it all, and the day is not long enough.
So how does I love this, and I think this is a really important part of everybody's day. A part of this is having a vision for the future, and that's why I asked you about the vision for your club and where people want to go on the journey. Because the way I see it, if I have a vision, now my vision might be to have so many people have coaches so that they're in a better place. You know, let's say it's
Mhm.
10,000 people have coaches and they're putting themselves in a better place, and the world will be a better place because of it. Then my today actions actually become investments towards my vision rather than
Yeah.
energy costs in my day. They become investments towards that future. I just wonder how that plays in your model, Aleksandra.
Yeah, well, what you are talking about is exactly this alignment with a soul-centered success, soul-centered goal or vision. So it's really something that you want to contribute with, right? As you, Jonathan, on Earth, like you feel that, okay, I'm supposed to do this. This is my mission. This is my passion. This is what I want to do. And then obviously this connection. This is what we usually call this big why behind your daily actions, daily, weekly, monthly, whatever. Like this question: for the sake of what are you doing what you are exactly doing in this given moment? And guys, you can all ask yourself this question on a regular basis while finding yourself in some kind of action. Like, remind yourself, for the sake of what are you doing what you are currently doing? And sometimes you will remind yourself about this connection, and you will feel this inspiration, and you will feel blessed that you get to do it, even the tiniest thing. And sometimes you will figure out, I don't have a good answer to this question. I have no idea. Or maybe it would be for the sake of my mom, or for the sake of my boss, or for the sake
Yeah.
of whoever else has designed this thing for me. And I haven't set a healthy boundary, and I haven't used my no to not do it. So it's important to make these checks with ourselves, and remember and have a clear reason for why we are doing what we are doing, and knowing how it's rewarding us both right now and in the future. That's one. And another thing, back to the vision and the mission, and I don't know if I answered this question completely when you asked about my club, and what I want this to do for people, just as everything else, just like this podcast that we are doing today. I feel that I'm on the
Yeah.
mission of raising the awareness around this high achiever syndrome, as well as this inner drive that natural achievers have. So, raise the awareness, raise the understanding on the public level, um, and really revolutionize the approach to goal achievement itself. So it's not about making people achieve more and more. It's like a natural result of it, but let them achieve more and more in a healthier, more joyful way, more aligned, more in the flow. That's my vision. And I want to show people that it's possible. And also, stories of more and more and my clients are just a contribution to that, and a proof, living proof of that this approach really, really works. So I want us all to stop with this no pain, no gain mentality.
I think that's fantastic, Alessandra. I just remember there about 2 or 3 weeks ago, a guy called Jonathan Frostick posted on LinkedIn. He had a heart attack. He has a
Mhm.
big job in a bank, and he says, "Oh, and he came on a post. I don't want this anymore. I'm doing, he basically killing himself. He's lucky to be alive now. He has a couple of
Yeah.
stents or whatever, and he would fit in the classic high achievers group." 400,000 people liked his post on LinkedIn, Alessandra. And that means so many people can relate to this. I'll call it maybe the overachieving club. I'm not talking about the way you're doing it, and sort of to shift overachievers down into proper achieving. I
Yes.
think there's a great need for that, Alexandra.
I think so too, but there is a reason why I'm not calling my club Overachievers Club or whatever, and it's because, and it's like I will, reveal a back behind the scenes secret here. It's because great many of my people in my tribe, great many of my clients as well, uh, they identify way more with this goal achievement. This is their drive, and they are struggling, but they don't know yet that they have a syndrome, that there is something unhealthy about their approach to the achievement. They are so fixed on these goals and missions and visions that they have. So, goal achievers is what resonates with them. This is how they feel. I'm a goal achiever, I'm a high achiever, or an achiever, or whatever. But very rarely they will say to themselves, without having this conversation with me, I'm a hyperachiever, or yes, I'm suffering from the syndrome, I'm overdoing the achievements. This is
Yeah,
something that they get aware of once they have jumped into this community, this club, and suddenly we open up for this vulnerability. Suddenly they understand that this club is not only about, bragging about bigger and bigger achievements. This club is also about what I say, taking this superhero mask off when you need it and be just a human, be yourself, show that you're struggling. I'm showing my own struggles as well. I'm showing also by doing like tiny things like, not always wearing makeup, not always being at my best in terms of energy or smile or whatever. I will still show up and I will tell them, guys, today I have a crappy day for whatever reason. And yet, just by doing that, and the topic of what I'm talking about might be otherwise different, but just by showing them I can still show up for you, looking crappy, feeling crappy, uh, not having all my thoughts together and lined up in a very clear way, I can still show up, I can still deliver something, and it is good enough, and I am good enough. And I'm opening up for this. I'm asking questions. Even today, I asked because I was feeling like hiding from the world. Nothing dramatic happened. Actually, a great week, but again, a new level of commitment. So I felt this morning that this day is one of these days when I would preferably just stay in my own bubble with no exposure to the world, as much as a part of me is loving it. I knew I had this podcast with you going on, so I knew that at some point in my day I would move to this I want full exposure
sure.
kind of attitude. And I got there, but I got there because at this point of my journey and my understanding and my also professional journey and development, I understand and I embrace that this need of just hiding in my bubble for a while is okay. It's not like being less than the superhero that I aspire to be. It's not like not being an achiever. It's in fact a natural and necessary part of being an achiever because this is what allows us to recharge our batteries so that we can then shine brightly and take all these bold, massive, intense actions towards our goals and dreams. So I was asking these questions. Hey guys, how are you feeling today? Are you feeling like getting the full exposure out there? Are you feeling like hiding from the world and being in your own bubble? Or are you feeling whatever in between? Like everything is allowed. And we in the club understand it.
I think that's fantastic, Alessandra. And I suppose one of the things that we do is really important to know is what recharges our batteries. I know I love taking my dog for a walk in the hills behind where I live, and that just recharges my battery. So, I have good days and bad days. Get the dog, get the lead, go for a walk, and I'm already X% better when I come back. I think we really need to know what are our good we say things that we can call upon to recharge our batteries when we're not there. And many times we neglect to even acknowledge what they are and proactively do them even on a daily basis. So awareness of what is it that makes, I get up at dawn every morning, I bring my dog for a walk, that kind of starts my day. And but also during the day it can go bad, and then I'll still grab the dog again, he's delighted, but that means I need to recharge batteries again. And I think for years I had let that go. You know, I did do a bit of running, but that was even achieving because I was trying to run X amount of kilometers to do this marathon, that marathon, or the other. It wasn't really to recharge my batteries. It was for the sake of perceived health and fitness. I think actually understanding what does recharge our individual batteries, and it can be different for everybody. It could be read a book, can be do yoga, can be whatever, cook a beautiful meal, whatever. I think the importance around that connection to ourselves and doing an activity or not doing an activity, whatever it is, really needs to take a higher priority place, because then once we recharge, we can come back into more of a flow, I think.
Yeah, and that's this important part of the sustainability of our high performance. We
Mm-hmm.
need to recharge our batteries on a regular basis, depending on what it is, daily tiny things, even hourly, even taking a 1 minute break to just breathe while moving,
Yeah.
let's say, from one task to another or whatever. Like I'm doing these power breaks as well. Last week I was dancing live. In front of the entire Facebook because I had been doing it
I
for
saw that.
myself.
I saw
Yeah,
that. Yeah.
crazy. And it wasn't a show off, it was just my regular, crazy, not planned, spontaneous dance. But I was actually doing it before I went live. And I thought, you know what? Maybe I could share it with the world. Maybe it will inspire someone, or maybe it will make someone smile or laugh at me or with me, whatever. I don't mind. It will just create endorphins and make someone's Friday better, and maybe they will be inspired to do the same or their version of it. So it's so important. But for high achievers with the syndrome that still feel this, pressure of achieving constantly, and oh, I have so much to do, I cannot allow myself a break right now because it will delay all the things that I need to do even more. We need to connect it to what's really important to them and acknowledge that, okay, this achieving thing is really important to them. Getting to this goal, getting to this vision is really important to them. So then we need to understand that these recharges are actually crucial for you in order to get where you want to get, and in fact, faster than you would expect. Because if you just
Mhm.
exhaust yourself more and more by taking shortcuts, but not taking breaks, by not doing what brings you joy, by not sleeping enough, by not feeding yourself well, and so on, you are actually trying to do this sprint, or you are actually trying to do the ultra marathon at the speed of the sprint.
Sure.
It's
Sure.
insane. And you will collapse. And once you collapse, once you hit the wall, either with your physical body or especially your mental and nervous system and your brain, which is very much a part of your physical body, or on the emotional level, it will take you even longer to pick yourself up from this state of collapse. You will lose this momentum that you were trying to create for yourself, and it will
Yeah.
really all slow down this achievement that you wanted to speed up. So we need to understand that as much as we are limitless in spirit, in our achiever, visionary, wanting to do in incredible things, spirit, in this lifetime, we are using this very physical body as our vehicle,
Yeah.
and we need to take care of this vehicle in order for it to be able to carry us through this journey towards all these extraordinary things that we want to accomplish. So it's important to make this link. And the same with fun. Actually, when we also understand the importance of fun, doing things for fun, and how having fun might be the most productive thing to do, actually, because it creates endorphins in your system, it puts you in this emotional balance, which is so important, because if you want to achieve a lot, You need to act out of the most resourceful state. And in order to be in the most resourceful state on the biochemical level and emotional level, you need not only this power, this push, this go-getter attitude that usually is the domain of natural achievers, but you also need a certain level of fun, of playfulness, of silliness, of not taking it all so seriously and kind of playing with the process rather than being so damn attached to the outcome.
Yeah.
And also, the third part would be being caring, being loving, being empathetic, being sensitive towards others and towards yourself as well. So, like this typical self care concept is coming into place here and this last part of the equation. And once you have taken care of your most resourceful state, this is where you can accomplish the biggest, most incredible, even as I say, impossible things that you want to
Oh,
accomplish.
absolutely. I think that's fantastic, Aleksandra. And I think that's the ideal environment. I wanted to come on one difficulty around that is, in big environments, sometimes results and numbers are the only thing that's important. So you can come across toxic environments and toxic people, I would nearly say, as in, people with lacking that empathy and the results at whatever cost to your soul, your heart, your health, your fitness is there. What do you do, or what do you recommend to people who find themselves, even though they are achievers, they have these blocks in terms of the culture that they're in, or the boss that they have, or the colleagues that they have, because of the general attitude. Now, it boils down to person by person in the end, but how do achievers manage or cope with those sort of challenges?
Very often they don't, which leads into this corporate burnout. Because this is
Yeah,
very often this dynamics of achievers that usually are yes people. I said previously that these are the people that even proactively seek new challenges. So
sure.
whenever there is a new project, a new need of developing something or improving something that is not working or whatever, something extra, these people very often with full enthusiasm and energy will say, yes, I want to be a part of this. Yes, I want to lead this. Yes, I want to take this extra opportunity or responsibility, but it adds up, and at the end it's too much. Or simply you can have a boss that has unreasonable expectations to how much you can produce and how much you can deliver. Which creates this like external pressure as very ambitious people. They want to climb the corporate ladder. They will try to meet these expectations while sacrificing their relationships, their health, definitely their joy of life for the sake of this next promotion, or simply just living up to these standards, and preferably even more than that. So these are often the people that want to deliver more than the 100% that is expected. So you need to know your limitations, recognize them, like observe yourself at which point you notice this pressure, anxiety, stress, physical exhaustion, mental fatigue, all these kinds of things. When are you starting to sacrifice other important areas of your life for this one particular goal or this one particular job in this case, and learn how to set very firm, clear boundaries, because it's your responsibility. If you don't train people to treat you in a way that is right and healthy for you, these kinds of people in toxic people or toxic environments with this kind of organizational structure, they will just take advantage of this achiever drive in you, and it will exhaust you because you allow it. So then if it doesn't help to communicate in a very clear, very confident way how far you are willing to stretch yourself and where your limits go, if it's still not accepted, I would really consider, do you still want to be in this environment? And the question is, are you in a position to have an impact on these routines, on this culture, on the
Yeah.
values promoted in this company, consciously or unconsciously? Do you really want to be a part of that? Or do you want to change your environment, especially if it's your job? If you are your own boss, if you are an entrepreneur, and you are a high achiever type with the syndrome, chances are that you are even harder, even more expecting boss to yourself than any other boss would be. So again, so you need to also start treating yourself reasonably as your own boss and understand your own limitations. And if you are a CEO of a big organization, actually, this is also a part of my vision and mission, that together with these people that start understanding these challenges with the achiever drive and the achiever syndrome, to co-create, revolutionize again the way we are putting together these organizational structures and cultures, so that it promotes healthy growth and achievement, and not this system that you just tries to squeeze your last juices and exhaust the employees.
Yeah. Fantastic. Just one last question for you, Aleksandra. Thank you very much for taking the time out today to go through, well, you know, things that affect an awful lot of people. So I appreciate you going through quite a comprehensive, you know, discussion around this. If you were to come across younger people now who are about to endeavor on a career, or maybe you were to meet the young Aleksandra, but, you know, 18-year-old version of you, what one piece of advice would you give a young person starting out in this sort of career world, entrepreneur world, from what you've learned so far? What one little piece of advice would you give to them as they go forward?
I think it wouldn't even be a piece of advice, but it would be a really loving message that I understood fully and embraced fully, also very recently, actually. And it's, you are really enough as you already are in any given moment, no matter if you are doing enough or more than enough or not enough. It's all a part of human experience. But in any of these circumstances, and no matter who is judging it, you or anyone else, you are nevertheless always enough, just as you are.
Oh, that's lovely. Absolutely. And thank you very much, Aleksandra. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you on today. And for anyone, please follow Aleksandra. Her information about her group, it will be down below on the podcast. And for those of you who haven't questions to fire, subscribe and bring on driven people like we have done today. Aleksandra, thank you very much and have a wonderful rest of the day. Take care.
Thank you very much for having me, Jonathan. It was a pure pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.